Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Well, a really big day today in the shop, and that's because we are going to get all of the metal work wrapped up. We're going to get everything into epoxy primer and get this car 100% complete throughout the metal work. We're going to get our transmission tunnel fabricated today. We're going to do a lot of the little pinhole welding that we have to do. We got window channels to do on the front and rear. We've got fenders. We've got the header panel. We've got our brand new shaker hood that should be here in a few days. We've got, man, a lot of parts and pieces that all need to be cleaned up. They need to get into epoxy and they need to get onto this car because we're like 2 weeks away from having to be in Evanston, Wyoming for the big car show there on July 22nd. And yeah, this car is nowhere close to being at the level that I'd like it to be at for that car show. So first thing we're gonna jump into today, guys, I'm gonna get these fenders completely cleaned up here. We're gonna get these sanded down. We're gonna get those into epoxy. And then the other parts should be back from the blaster here in about a day or so. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm gonna first jump in and I'm gonna show you guys a super simple way that any of you can custom make a transmission tunnel. A couple little cheat codes there that I'll unlock for you. And then, you know, again, from there we'll move on to all the other parts and pieces and odds and ends, and just a lot of cleanup, guys, before we finally get to move into that exciting phase of body work and one step closer to painting this car. I get a lot of questions. What color is the car gonna be? I wanna keep it a surprise for as long as possible because it's not the color that you may think. Number one, no, it is definitely not the pea green, the shitty original green that it was. And yeah, it's not a typical nor a traditional color for these cars, but my goal is that when you guys see this car at a car show, when you guys see it, you know, social media or wherever else, you guys are gonna know that it was built by me and that it's the Rust Bucket Restos Cuda. So I don't wanna give away too much. I promise I will reveal the color of the paint here in an upcoming episode. But yeah, for now, I'm gonna quit talking. We're gonna jump straight into it and let's get everything here cleaned up and let's get it all into epoxy. Alrighty, you guys, so I've got all the tail panel repairs done, and overall it turned out pretty good. There's some areas that I had to sand down, and I was able to fill in. I threw a copper backer on here, filled those in, but other areas, like up there at the top, especially on the bottom there and also on the top, I ended up having to cut out the metal, replace it, blend it, and with a really thin coat of body filler across the back here, where I've done those repairs, after we put it back in epoxy, I should be able to do that, make those adjustments, and you won't even be able to tell that there were repairs done there. Now, let's be real here. I've done 4 or 5 videos on just dedicated to window channel repair, so I didn't film for the last couple days because I've been working on all of the window channels on this car. If you guys want to see that process for how to use the shrinker stretcher tool, how to weld those in, how to do that whole process, go back and watch those videos on the Charger and also the GTO, because the front and rear windows got complete window channels all the way around, and I showed you guys how to do that step by step. So let's fast forward here. The repairs have been done. This is the next step in the process. Okay, there's 2 schools of thought when it comes to doing any sort of body work, okay? And that is, do you do filler work directly on bare metal, or do you like to do it over epoxy? You can do your research on it, guys. I prefer to do all my work on top of epoxy. The moment that I start burning through is the moment that I go back and I throw it back in 2K again, and I do repairs on top of that. So this is in different stages here, as you can see by the different colors. So obviously when we do the repairs, it's going to be in bare metal all the way around there. We'll clean that up. We'll put that in 2K epoxy. After it's in epoxy, what I like to do, and it's not a measure to basically replace doing metal work or to cover up bad metal work, is I like to use a fiberglass reinforced body filler, and that is to make the complete window opening all smooth, okay? You're gonna have the original spot welds around the opening, and then also if you're doing metal repair work, you're gonna be able to see your welds, you're gonna be able to see your grinding marks, all that kind of stuff. So what I like to use is fiberglass filler. Super easy to use, guys, super easy to sand, and it looks really, really good. So you can see that that is kind of the green color here, or the white color. As you can see, when I put that on, you'll put a nice thin layer all the way around there. And then I actually end up sanding off probably about 90 to 95% of it. And that's why you can see all this bare metal through here. It kind of acts as its own guide coat. You can see that the darker green spots there, where there's obviously a low spot. The lighter portions here are areas where I hit that with the 36 grit disc. And again, you can kind of follow it around there, acts as its own guide coat, but it really smooths out the edge. And on top of that, I'll go back, I'll 2K epoxy it again, because as you can see, I've got exposed bare metal here, so that's really the next step down here. And once that has flashed off and that's dry, that's when I like to use the 3M Platinum Plus body filler. Why do I use Platinum Plus? Because it's the best in my humble opinion. Now, there's a lot of different body fillers out there, guys. You can use Bondo, you can use all sorts of different stuff. I really think that it's worth the money to invest. Get the Platinum Plus, get Rage Gold, you know, go with some of the premium fillers, okay? You can just tell in the difference of mixing them up and working with them. This stuff, you know, flattens itself out, it levels really well, and it sands very, very easily. You don't have nearly as many pinholes as you do with the Bondo brand. And you know, just like the fiberglass filler, as you start sanding this, it kind of acts as its own guide coat. You can see the lighter yellow portion here has been sanded. All the stuff all the way around here has not yet been sanded. So what you'll do then, you'll take a sanding block with some 80 grit sandpaper or 120, whatever you prefer, and you'll go around the entire thing and you'll sand it out, and it's gonna look perfect when it's done. And at that point, it'll then be ready to once again throw in a 2K epoxy primer. And to be honest with you, after that, I should not have to touch, think about, dream about, stress about any sort of window openings, because it's going to be smooth all the way around. You know for sure that it's going to look good, and yeah, can move on to more pressing things like this giant hole in the floor that I can't stop staring at. That's the next thing. So let's go ahead, we're going to throw this back in a 2K around the edge of this, then I will go ahead and put the Platinum Plus filler on there. We'll sand that down, finish up these window channels, and then we will move on to that damn tunnel. Let's get it done. Alrighty guys, so we got all wrapped up with the window channels there, and honestly I got a little bit ahead of myself and I started taping off this tunnel. So the next step here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fabricate this. It's going to be in 2 pieces, and as I mentioned earlier, anybody can do this. I promise. I'm going to show you guys how easy it is. Now, if you're going to use a bead roller and do all sort of trick designs and whatnot, that's not what this video is for. It's to show you how to make a good piece that's going to cover this tunnel and it's going to look really, really nice. So the first thing I did, I kind of eyeballed the center line here, made sure it was straight. Really no more difficult than just making sure that the center of your tape is on the highest part here for the back of the floor pan, for this this hoop, and then also at the top where it meets the firewall. And so what I did then is that I actually took round rod. You can kind of see it's already held into place here, but I've got that basically sized up and positioned to perfectly wrap to the edges of the opening there where the front of the floor pan is, right here over the top of the hoop. You know, again, I'm going to make a mark down here at the bottom because I want to take a really good measurement. I mark center line on this rod here, and then the same right up there at the top. And now, really guys, the transmission tunnel has a slight taper to it, meaning that the back is going to be narrower than the front. And with this one not just being like a perfectly straight piece, it's actually going to go up and then it's going to go down a little bit to meet where the firewall is at. So I'm going to actually do this in 2 pieces here. And really the next step, we're going to take a measuring tape, measure from that center line to this center line. We're then going to take these rods off of this. We're going to lay them on a flat sheet, and then from there take a few measurements, make sure that we have that taper right, make sure our center line's lined up, and then also make sure that the piece we're cutting is at least that long. Now with this, the sheet metal is expensive. I always use 18 gauge when it comes to body panels and whatnot, so we're gonna size it probably about 1/4 inch too big in every direction, and from there we can just take that flap disc, we can bring it in and make it absolutely perfect. So let's go ahead, let's take some measurements here, we'll get this back section cut out and I'll show you guys how it all fits up. Alrighty guys, so after just a little bit of welding here, I've got my tunnel back in place, and overall it fits pretty good right off the bat. You can see that there's some daylight here across the bottom and then also around the top of the tunnel, but not too big of a deal. Overall the shape fits really nice, and I am one of those psychos that really likes to butt weld everything, so we're not done cutting just yet. So I went ahead, I traced this all the way around here with my green marker. I am going to make some more cuts here to the floor pan because I want this to sit as low as possible directly on top of that hoop there. And then up here at the front, what I am going to do, so I took just a piece of wood with the jack, and I've actually got the jack pushing that up into place right now, as you can see. Now after I start welding here, I'm going to come back and we're going to trim that right to the edge of the firewall right there, and then we'll be able to weld that nice and tight all the way around there, grind it, and make it look like one seamless piece. Does look like I will have to add a little bit of an extension here. Got carried away with that grinding wheel on this floor pan on this side. The other side fits pretty good, so I shouldn't have to do that. But by cutting out the back of this, it is going to drop it down by another 1/2 inch or so, and should sit nice and tight on the hoop, should sit nice and tight back there on the floor pan. And at that point, we can start doing some perimeter welds. We're going to be prying a little bit. We're going to be, you know, kind of finessing this thing all the way around because I want it to look like it was originally in this car. So without further ado, let's pull this thing back out. Let's make some more cuts here. And it's getting a little bit late here, so trying to get this thing done and trying to at least get it tacked in a few spots here so that way we can come back and hit it up tomorrow and get it all finished up. So let's get to work. Alrighty guys, so the first thing I wanted to do is apologize. This video has kind of been skipping all over the place here with progress. Not gonna lie, bodywork is not that exciting to me, so I don't really care to share a whole lot of it with you guys, but just a couple of tips and tricks. Once we get it in poly and I start blocking things, then I'll start sharing some different techniques with you guys. But man, I've been trying to beat the heat. It's been like 100, 102 degrees every single day out here, and the only time that I can really paint the car is like right before sunset. So you guys can see beautiful sunset tonight, and man, seeing this car all in epoxy primer and with how everything is turning out so far just really makes all the hard work worth it. I think Saturday, Sunday, each day I think I spent about 14, 15 hours out here. Today, even just getting home from work, you know, spend 4 or 5 hours out here, and my shop is a complete disaster. My body's killing me, but man, let's take a look at this thing. I'm just really excited. So all the parts, all the panels, everything is all in epoxy primer now. First round of Bodywork's knocked out. Yeah, and it's only going to get better from here once we put it in polyester. But all the window channels are done. The transmission tunnel turned out absolutely killer. That shifter hole is going to get opened up a little bit more here once we get the transmission in it, but roughly that's where it's going to be. But door jambs look sweet. LED seams look absolutely awesome, and man, tail panel, it all looks good. It all looks really good, and I haven't even really put a block on this car yet. So, oh man, not gonna lie guys, I'm at a loss for words, mainly because I'm so freaking tired. But there she be. And I'm not gonna get much of a rest because the car show is in 4 days. I've got my dad flying out. He's gonna come out there with me. It's gonna be his birthday weekend out there, and man, I can't wait to share this with you guys. Can't wait to get some feedback from you guys, and yeah, hopefully get a few people excited. I know it's getting me excited just even thinking about trailering it up and getting it out there, but I look at this and I know how much work it's going to take to get it all back together and on that trailer. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut the video off here guys. The next video you guys are gonna see us put this thing together, get it up on the trailer, tow this thing out to the Evanston Car Show, and yeah, spend the day meeting you guys and hearing what you got to say about the car. So if you haven't done so yet guys, hit that subscribe button. You're not gonna wanna miss a minute of this build, because this thing is absolutely flying. And man, I need some help picking out a paint color, by the way. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Take care. I'll see you guys real soon.